Previously on the Nightstalker Podcast.
Hold on, I'm on this Pokemon rant right now.
Okay.
So I stopped collecting Pokemon at 3rd generation. I got Emerald, I played it, and I think that was...
I never got into the DS ones.
Yeah, that was the fiend. I had my SP, the DS came out, we were hurting, we're hurting for time, so it's not like...
So zombies. And now continuing, zombies, part 2.
We should, when you're editing and shit,
Yeah.
you should insert like a little, maybe a funny little 5-second clip.
Just talking about Pokemon.
I know, totally unrelated. Well, from the previous episode, you know what I mean?
And then add it in.
Yeah, add it in, right after where he just said that, you know what I mean? Previously on. And then you just hear us just goofing
That's what I was
around
thinking
and
when he went silent.
Yeah. See how we're all on the same page?
We're all on the same wavelength.
We linked up.
Here we go. Good evening, and welcome to the Nightstalker Podcast. I am your host, the Nightstalker.
I'm the professor.
And Smokey.
And we are back at it again with the zombies. Part 2, no part 3, because we're gonna wrap this up today. You know what it is out there. Go support us on social media and YouTube and OnlyFans.
Sell out.
Yo, it's your boy. So, anyways, where we did leave off, because we felt it was such a huge subject, was zombie apocalypse. The big shebang of zombies.
The apocalypse of the apocalypse.
The apocalypse of the apocalypses. People always say they wish it would happen. Some people don't say they want to be in it.
The survival thought experiment, real quick.
Yeah,
what would you do?
Yeah, so...
Scenario. Apocalypse scenario.
So I guess the first place we should start is, how would the government react to zombie
We
apocalypse?
gotta start from what is happening up to the breakout. What's going on?
Well,
you know what I mean? It's always different.
It's always different depending on real life stuff. I mean, you can look right now, we got China having the coronavirus, and we're seeing how the world's kind of reacting to
something like that. It could be like a virus, like you said, like corona, where it's like a localized pandemic that kind of starts, or a local epidemic that starts and then kind of like transpires into like a pandemic, but it starts like from that like little epidemic of like a virus that like passes from like pigs or like some type of animal onto the humans, you know what I mean, and just turns it. Or we got like government, China, Russia, secret programs, MK Ultra, but MK Ultra went bad, something happened, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now instead of you know what I mean? Like, it's not, so like, it could be like, okay, are we talking about some natural phenomenon, like nature strikes back, you know what I mean, and gives us zombies?
Yeah.
Or is it like humans fucked up, unleashed upon the world zombies?
It could be aliens. They could have
dropped off some zombies.
It could be like the little underground occult groups worshipping the devil or like practicing black magic.
And then they resurrect in some
Bring
necromancy.
Some bad energy.
Or it could be chickens.
Which is actually true.
Arise, chicken, arise.
Oh, you get 100 Team Force!
So yeah, chicken zombies are an actual thing.
So yeah, chickens actually are the only animal to have zombie-like tendencies. Because they try to euthanize them.
You get the head off, the motherfucker still run.
Yeah, and it doesn't go through. Well, not even with the head cut off either. They'll euthanize these chickens, throw them in a pile, and one dead chicken rises from the chickens.
From the chicken.
One dead chicken rises from the dead chickens.
And
one claw just...
one wing. This is why Nightstalker does not like chickens, guys. I just don't trust them.
Remember you guys used to have that bird that used to mess with me? I used to get scared when it would I used to have this thing where I didn't like when birds would fly and then land on me.
Oh yeah,
you could put a bird on me. I'll when they fly and then I feel almost attacked. You know what I mean? Almost attacked.
So you probably did not like The Birds by Alfred Hitchcock.
Oh no, I didn't even see the movie. ain't going there.
We had a parakeet named Butters, and I named it Butters because he looked like Butters from South Park. He had like the yellow. He had the yellow top. He had like the blue feet. So I named him Butters.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, no, he was super trained. He would fly from across the room. You just whistle, put your hand out, and he would fly to you from no matter where. He loved roaming.
He got a whistle. He might just come.
Wait, what happened to Butters?
He actually died of old age.
Aww.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys had him for a while, I thought.
We had him like 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I started coming around, you guys already had him.
Yeah, no.
4 years, you know what I mean? So, like,
Yeah, no, he lived a good life. But what was I again? Oh yeah, chickens. So yeah, no, these chickens, if it doesn't pump through them thoroughly, yeah, they'll be like walking about until it finally stops their heart. So they're like not technically dead, but at the same time, like motor functions have really been kicking off. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so they are kind of like a mindless chicken.
Mindless bird.
But funny enough, Smokey. There is a government plan called Contingency Plan 8888. So
4 8s.
4 8s. That's 4 8s.
So the government makes a bunch of contingency plans that are super top secret for any situation that could
Very
face
real.
the country.
This ain't just thought
Mhm.
experiments anymore. Dude.
But-
You got real.
They realize that the public
Don't get me on thoughts.
would want to like know, or like they wanted to throw the public a bone for like their contingency plans. So they decided to set something in a quote unquote fictional situation and released or declassified contingency plan 8888. And so
Probably some years ago. Because, the government's got contingency plans for
damn near everything.
damn near everything.
Aliens,
Nuclear
all that.
war, aliens, yeah, they do,
I find that crazy too, like that we think that these things are so crazy, but our government has very real plans. You know what I mean? But
just
like,
in case.
you say something that this might be coming, it's the government's going to be labeling you crazy at the same, but like they got plans.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's like one big crazy thing.
Yeah, so they released Contingency Plan 888, and it's not super special in how it's almost how you would almost imagine any other contingency plan. Pretty much, the first thing it would be, step one is,
it was a show of force. Because if the U.S. would, well, now you guys know we live in the U.S., but if the U.S. was facing a zombie breakout, then other countries would want to capitalize. Would want to capitalize on our weakness. Yeah. So the first part of Contingency Plan 8888, which is Phase 0, would be to host a large-scale military training.
Mm-hmm.
Not even training. It would be training would be how they would prepare for it, but now they're really doing it. A show of force. Just show of force
to deter other countries, other nations
from trying to step in and capitalize off our weakness.
And then the step after that would be I'm gonna be honest, I kind of forget the plan.
It was to shape the environment.
Shape the environment. You're right.
I feel like a suppression of information is a very real possibility, say, with this to start happening, you know what I mean? Had the whole idea that the government will kind of try to keep things hush hush and do a kind of thing why wouldn't the government just come out with it and say this is going on, we're fighting zombies, and it's yeah, they could do that, but also they could be seen as a weak point for the U.S. and an opportunity for other countries to capitalize on it. So that would make our country kind of try to hush hush on how they kind of initially combated the situation, thus leading to a situation where the outbreak gets big and kind of spreads, and it's kind of whoa, what happened? But really it was building up the whole time. The government was just trying to fight it in this little localized area, trying to quarantine these people off. But internet, all this stuff started getting out, and then it got past the quarantine zone, and now it's fuck. You know what I mean? It's when we could have been preparing for it, but the government kind of went about it certain type of way, you know what I mean? Which I really think that they would do, you know what I mean? Even though they have these contingency plans. And if they're telling us the plan's one thing, it's obviously another thing. You know what I mean?
That's true. Like, they'd probably change it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, step 1 might be the same, step 2 might be the same, but step 3 might be a little different, you know what I mean? And thus leading on to a whole snowball effect to where, like, the contingency plan is no longer what we really initially thought it was.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, phase 1 after the show of force would be to notify military personnel and as soon as possible so that they can prepare, set up base, and like set up safe areas for civilians.
And start watching what's happening.
And then phase 2 would be to gather up all of our overseas troops, or like as many as we can, in order to consolidate our power and fight off the outbreak.
Yeah, from within our borders.
And then the next part is dominance.
Yeah.
And try to start stepping in on other areas in a way that kind of looks like we're really just trying to fight the virus.
Well, first it would probably be, leading with, like, airstrikes and, like, tanks, that stuff first.
Airstrikes on, the Middle East, because that's our fuel source, so we're going to say we need to keep this area safe so we have a continual source of fuel to fight this war.
And then once the Air Force, like, the main part is done, that's when ground troops go in, and the real dominance comes in. That's when we're mowing them down.
Tanks, ground troops.
So, Air Force, Army, Marines.
Phase 3
No,
will
Air
last...
Force, Marines. Armies are last.
Actually, yeah,
Marines
you're right.
First.
Yeah.
Phase 3 will last no shorter than 40 days. And then after 40 days, phase 4 would be scouting out the area and seeing, like, pockets of outbreaks or, like, to see if it's safe enough to retake the land.
And that's when stabilization comes in. Rebuild.
And that's when I think, like, also, like when you say capitalizing off of weaknesses, I feel like a zombie apocalypse would kind of create a free-for-all in terms of, like, the resources, you know what I mean?
For sure.
Nobody's now able to kind of, like, govern their resources, so it's kind of like now these resources are just out there. So now it's like, not only am I going to try to, like I said with the Middle East, it's like, okay, now it's like we don't have to do the proxy war. We just sort of say, we're trying to keep the zombies out. That's why we're bombing in the Middle East. But it's like, okay, why'd you choose the Middle East to start your little, like, anti-zombie plan? You know what I mean? It's like, oh, we need the fuel. You know what I mean? And that's a very good, obvious, you know what I mean, like, train of thought. We could be doing it in Brazil because they got a lot of fuel down there, and like Argentina and stuff like that, so like where it's like, okay, like we kind of come back and bring all our troops home to the U.S., try to fight the war, the zombies off from it within our borders, right? Set up safe zones, maybe we got to let the whole like Midwest go, you know what I mean? Maybe the Midwest is kind of like too hard to really like control, but like we can keep the West Coast because we keep the East Coast and kind of try to create a buffer zone and kind of try to move in and kind of take the U.S. back, you know what I mean? But at the same time, what are we going to do as far as fighting outwards? You know what I mean? Like, we're going to go into Mexico first, but it's like, is it advantageous for us to go, like, try to fight the zombies off in, like, Ontario, Canada, up in the hill? You know what I mean? Where it's, like, cold as fucking no real resources that we could attain right now and, like, kind of get to, or is it going to be more advantageous for us to go to where we know there's these certain resources and fight the zombies off there first? You know what I mean? I feel like that's a way to go that people would think of either in like large groups where it's like, okay, the government's doing this, or like government versus government, China versus US, Russia versus US, or is it like smaller but still yet more powerful like army groups? Like you got a captain that kind of has control of a few, a few thousand soldiers and decides he wants to like, consolidate some power amongst himself, and his other generals and shit. So like, I feel like just the fight for resources would be a huge thing in the zombie apocalypse. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm. That's why Nightstalker, is prepared. I got plenty of my own stowed away gear where if something like that happened, I'd be able to pack up and go. Because I just know right away, something as basic as water, people are going to be fighting for it.
So it's like, okay, so do you try to say, okay, I'm going to go out to the cuts and try to live a solo bolo, like, in the hills kind of life? But when you do that, you lose the kind of, like, advantageous things that come with, like, society and kind of working with people. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you lose that benefit. So it's like, okay, so I can go to the woods, but it's like, now I have to grow my own food. Now I have to, like, source my own water. I also have to do all this work and hunt, you know what I mean? And I have to prep things and, like, kind of, like, live a life in kind of a way that kind of, like, you know, like, and also this is the thing about zombie apocalypse. When you're trying to live by yourself like that, you kind of have to live a life in a way that kind of, like, is predictable. You know what I mean? You want to kind of know what you're doing. You don't want to be living in an unpredictable way by yourself. You know what I mean? Because you have nobody to fall back on, too, for when something goes unplanned. But zombies kind of act in a way that they can always kind of, like, throw a monkey wrench into anything that's going on, you know? So you could be trying to, like, say you're up in the hills by yourself and you try to clear this new field, you know what I mean, to plant crops. You know, I'm trying to do some rows, some corn or whatever, you know what I mean? I decided to clear the area, but boom, now I knocked down this little tree that was part of this barrier that was keeping out this little group of zombies. So now I got this group of zombies coming in. I can no longer use this little land that when I went into this space, it was to farm. And now I have to deal with the zombies. But if I had people that I was working with, it would be different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you can, like, divvy up all of the
work,
responsibilities.
You know what I mean? But also, with more people comes the need for more resources.
Yeah.
So when I have more people with me, now we have to do more. We have to go into more areas to look for resources and to find land. So now we run into more zombies. We have more occurrences where we're running into the zombies and having to fight them off. So is it more advantageous for me to be solo bolo, take on as much work as possible, or try to live in some social type of group manner?
Group.
Yeah, with a group, but then also having to realize that because society is no longer bound by the rules because it's anarchy now, you know, and martial law or whatever, how are people going to react? You know what I mean? So it's like, whew, I might almost damn near want to be myself. You know what I mean? Like,
but, like, if you're by yourself and come nighttime, you don't have anyone watching your back.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you'd be constantly exhausted, like, less sleep.
The amount of work and, like, stress.
A lot more work, yeah.
Like, and that literally is what, like, makes people die early. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, to be able to live in longer and have a more longer, like, span, you know what I mean? It's like, I want to take on other help from other people, but it's like, if there's a zombie apocalypse or something where, like, the government's no longer in charge and there's no longer, like, a kind of, like, you know, we all kind of operate right now with the understanding that, like, somebody, if I go out and steal, kill, or do something wrong in the eyes of the society, I'm going to be removed from said society and put in jail. You know what I mean? Everybody kind of operates in a way. We all know this. You know what I mean? So it's like, even when I want to do wrong, I kind of have to do it in a way that's kind of like subversive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when it's no more government, you know what I mean? It's like, now people no longer have that bound on them, you know? So we could all still operate in like, okay, we all want to do the right thing. We're trying to survive, live. It's all good. You know what I mean? But then you're dealing with sick, weird people. You know what I mean? Something like, so now some shit might come up. You got a mom that, you know, she's got a son that she's got to do something special. She'll stab anybody in the back for the love of her son. You know, you got to deal with all these kind of different things. You know what I mean? When you start bringing other people into the equation. So it's like shit.
Yeah, no, I've always thought about it. Like, if I, in a group of, like, my friends, were stuck in, like, a zombie apocalypse like that, you know, I have thought to myself, like, okay, are these people I'd really want to be in it with, you know what I mean? Because...
how far could they get you?
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. You know, Professor here, key player in any apocalypse. He's he's medical.
Medically trained.
He's valuable to any group.
Yeah.
I would say my strengths would be, besides just labor, would be, you know, handy with weapons, you know, hunt, you know, stuff like that. You know, so that's what I would, if I ran into a group and they're like, well, why should we keep you? I'd be like, you know, I can be you guys.
Things I can do.
Yeah, you know, here's things I can do.
But then also, you don't want to give up all your skills too early.
Well, I was going to say, that's the thing, too. You don't want to give everything away just in case, you know? You might just want to be like, oh, yeah, maybe I can hunt for you, you know?
For me, I think the ideal group size would be, at most, 9.
Because I feel like that might be too much.
Because I feel like once you hit the double digits, communication
sure.
starts to break down.
Yeah, for sure.
Between like
and
members
you start
of the group.
also getting pockets in the group.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You start getting clips.
Yeah, but with like 9, it's like there's not a lot of people, but you have enough people to have a full watch rotation at night and still have people fully rested. You know? So you can like continue to switch off like who's on night watch on which days. and so you can like fully rotate your people enough to have them all rested, like at least half the week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I feel like 9. I was gonna say 7, but no, I think 9. That'd be the right number to have. And it also deals on what you're doing with Apocalypse wise, because like if we were doing, let's say we were in it, and it's like, okay, zombies will eventually starve and die out.
That's like a huge factor.
That's a huge factor, because if that's the factor, then it's like, okay, maybe we don't need to go that far. We just need to survive, long enough for them to at least die out enough where we can kind of retake, people could come out high and kind of retake it, Yeah. But if we're talking zombies that just don't, then it's like we really gotta get away from this town. We gotta start anew. I always thought a good thing would be heading up north towards like Washington.
But then it's like, how can you survive in the winter cold by yourself? Truly, because like there's a difference between saying like, okay, you right now going to go up to Tahoe and live by yourself, versus you have to source your own food, water, everything, hunt, and live by yourself. You get sick, injured, anything like that. It's going to sideline you, and you're really going to be shit out of luck. You know what I mean? That's when you really notice that, like, okay, shit, I can't even get ill. You know what I mean? Like, because that's how much I'm relying on myself. You know what I mean? Like, and that I feel like is a huge pressure on oneself. You know what I mean? It will really kind of like lead to you kind of maybe either taking on too much work ahead of time and then stretching yourself out to the point where these things can no longer be accomplished, or kind of accomplishing things but not in a way that kind of really makes the work worth the amount, like makes the time that you put into the action worth the result you get. You know what I mean? Like, is it worth the amount of time, the effort that you put in? You know what I mean? But like, to do it, you would have to put in so much effort because you're by yourself. You know what I mean? Maybe to just shovel snow. You know what I mean? Like, that's something we don't have to ever deal with, shoveling snow in California. You know what I mean? That is a huge part of people that live in the snow. Could you imagine? You know what I mean? Like the amount of having to know in your head, I have to wake up before I can even start my car. I have to go out, turn it on, get it started, warm it up, shovel snow maybe, get its driveway going. You know what I mean? That's an extra hour to your day. You know what I mean? Hopefully you got somebody inside that can make you breakfast while you're doing all this.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't. You got to hunt, cook. Hopefully you got food prep. You see all these things that come into the whole idea, I just want to go up north. You know what I mean? Because that's the common, like, I'm just going to go up north. That's what everybody thinks when it's a zombie apocalypse time. You know what I mean? You're going to go live like Davy Crockett? You know what I mean? Nah, I don't think so. Right? You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people that got a lot of good skills. You know what I mean? That, like, even in a group setting or like under certain settings, these skills could be incredibly advantageous. But under the like, I'm on an island by myself, a lot of things kind of like go to the, you know what I mean? A lot of things, even in Castaway, a lot of the shit he was starting and he would start to do was not going the way he planned, you know what I mean? And you would see the stress and the amount of like anguish that would come upon him when things would not go the way that he would plan them to go, you know what I mean? And then how that eventually turned him to break down, you know what I mean, mentally, you know what I mean? And like, that's what I feel like you're really going to have to battle with the whole, like, I want to go live by myself, isolated up north, where it's like, not only am I isolated by myself, but I'm fighting a climate that is going to be very hard to live in the winter. It's going to be very hard to grow enough. Well, you're going to be by yourself, so maybe you don't need enough food. But the amount of farming and stuff that you're going to have to farm and stuff to make food, but you're in a climate where farming is going to be very difficult, you know what I mean? And you're going to have a short season to do it, you know what I mean?
Well, looking out for zombies.
Wow! At the same time, always knowing that if I run into a zombie, get bit, scratched, but it's over for me, you know what I mean? And this is the other thing I was thinking also when I was in the bathroom. It also, another factor would be, like, how did the virus come about? Like, is this something to where, like, this is airborne? We can't even be outside now? You know what I mean? Is it in the air? Is it, like, do the animals have it? Like in I Am Legend? So now I can't even eat the wild game. You know what I mean? I have to source my own, grow my own, like, vegetable crops and live on. Is it, like, the animals don't got it, so hopefully I can hunt animals? But if they get bit, you know what I mean? Like, how did this whole shit start? So how deep is it, does it go? You know what I mean? It's like, now I'm dealing with zombies, but it's like like some shit where I'm dealing with zombies, but I also can't go on to I have to go into some type of bunker because the air is bad, so now I can't even be outside. Boom, that just fucks almost everything up, you know what I mean? At that point, if I knew it was like that, I'm pretty much gonna like just like go out in a blaze of glory and do some like, you know what I mean? I'm going out crazy.
Some Rambo shit.
Yeah, some Rambo. I'm going out wild, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not just like, boop bop, like we're just gonna go try to smack as many of these motherfuckers as we can, do what, but it's not gonna be survival. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be living in a way that like, I got my tops. You know what I mean? Like,
So,
tops.
we agree that going alone in a zombie apocalypse is probably not the way to go.
It's not the way to go, yeah.
Like you said, you had the Castaway example, but like if you look at other like popular like media sources, books, movies, it's super advantageous to go to do a survival situation with a group, like in the Swiss Family Robinson. Have you guys read that book before?
I've not.
So it's a family of wife, husband, and their 2 kids, and they're like deserted on an island. They have no way to call for help, but they manage to survive because all 4 of them have like different skills, and they split the responsibilities and the work.
And they're also connected to the family.
Mm-hmm.
They have that bond.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not only that we're together because we have the work that we're sharing, you know what I mean? The burden of work, but we also have like a deeper connection that allows me to like really put my life in the hands of, you know, when you're willing to put your life in the hands of somebody else in a way that's like different from like how you would a stranger. You know what I mean?
Of course.
So we're like, I'm living with somebody and I'm willing to like, I know that they're going to source and do their part. So I can do my part to the utmost and we all can come together and be as, versus I'm with people that like because of the bond, it might not be as strong. I might think that this person might not be able to do his entire part. So now I have to worry about him doing his part, not because I'm worried about being cheated, but because if he doesn't do his part, I don't get to eat, you know, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I lose out, you know what I mean? So now I have to worry about him doing his part and also try to accomplish my goals, you know what I mean, for the group and for self, you know what I mean? So it's like, shit, you know what I mean? It's taking on that responsibility of living with somebody or this group, you know, and then you also, like you said, what is the number? How many people is the gold number? You know what I mean? Is more people too much? Is it like, is less better? Is 5? I was going to say 5. I would say 5 strong core group members plus 2 or 3 like kind of more dependent but still serving some type of functional role.
I was gonna say, there are 9 playable characters in Team Fortress 2. They each have their own
game.
They each have their own role to play. You have the scout, the quick, witty one. You have like the heavy, the defender, you know.
Yeah.
But you also had the sniper. You had the medic. You had the spy. And I don't know. I feel like 10 is too much because it's like literally 2 digits, and it's hard to like rally. I remember I had a problem just having a group of like 10 friends just hanging out because we'd all want to do different things.
Everybody's personalities and stuff. Yeah.
And like the most important part of a survival situation, like the zombie apocalypse, are trust between its group members and communication. Because if you're confused about something and you don't know what the other people are doing, then unpredictable outcomes.
And we already dealing with unpredictable zombies.
Yeah.
So the thing that we need is predictable. That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like that's why I was saying when you're trying to live by yourself, whatever, predictable, like a predictable days and lifestyle is what's going to get you farther versus because it's that unpredictableness that kind of leads you into just and he got murked at the fucking mall. Game over. You know what I mean?
If it's unpredictable, you can't prepare. And if you're not prepared, you're at a disadvantage.
Yep.
But then it's like how much preparedness, you know what I mean? At some point, you're over prepped. Yeah. You know what I mean? And at some point,
like those doomsday preppers?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, then it's like, how much do I, you know what I mean? So that's what I was saying. At some point, there's going to be, if there was some zombie scenario and I had like partial to full knowledge of the situation, in some scenarios, in a good amount of scenarios, I'm going out. Like, I'm like, okay, so this is the scenario. I got a month. I got a month. You know what I mean? Like, so either A, I'm gonna like try to get good with God, or B, I'm gonna like just raid, loot, steal, pillage, or C, I'm gonna. Those are my two options. You know what I mean? Like,
and I was gonna say, funny enough, I had this discussion with someone once, and they brought up, what if you have a group and either at least one couple or more, what if you got people who are together?
Yeah, see, that's the other thing.
Because now, like,
bonds that are good, but like can be also detrimental.
Yeah,
like family. You might have family.
Let's say we're running through a mall, we're trying to get out of a place. We lose one, don't see that they're dead, and of course the person's like, I want to go back.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
For the sake of the whole group might be forsaken for the sake of one. You know what I mean? That's why it's like, okay, so you like with family, like it's like, dang, like that bond of family is going to be the strongest possible bond, so it's going to lead to the most possible trust. Mm-hmm. But it could also lead you to making irrational decisions based on that love. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like okay, say I'm in that situation where I got a month. You know what I mean? But I still got mom, dad, family, grandparents. Like, what do I do with them? You know what I mean? Do I come to a realization that family, we love each other, this is the end? Or is it like, do I try to get these people to survive as long as humanly possible? You know what I mean? Just out of the love, you know what I mean? Or is it like, are we all just gonna like come to conclusions that like, we're just gonna like make good with God and like, you know what I mean? So when I see you going down and like the zombies are swarming you, I know not to turn around and try to go back for you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I know to keep going because that's what you would want me to do. And if the roles were reversed, I would be telling you, go, 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 versus like, come back for me, try to save me type shit. You know what I mean? I feel like that's what, because like, I feel like when you see like the movies, the zombie apocalypse type shit, when it's family, like that bond, when they're working within the group, and there might be like deceit and like backstabbing going on within the group, it's like the family members that'll lean on each other in those times, you know what I mean? To kind of be like, okay, we can trust each other, so let's try to weed out the snake in the group. You know what I mean? But then there'll be other times where that same bond will be like in The Walking Dead, where it's like that bond of like Rick and his family, that bond was so strong that it kind of got the entire group to kind of like, when the wife was pregnant before she died, like it kind of got the whole group to rally around that and kind of survive. You know what I mean? Just because of that strong bond between the core family. But when the bitch died, when Rick's wife died, had the baby and died, Rick was so distraught based on this family member that just died that it brought the whole group down. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because he could no longer be the leader that they needed him to be. You know what I mean? So it's like, dang. Do you try to rock out with your family as long as possible? If you have elderly family members, do you look at them and say, look, you're not going to make it?
Yeah.
Grandma, I love you. You're overweight. When the zombies come, they will snatch you.
Or something I always found kind of ridiculous in The Walking Dead was Rick and his wife, and then Glenn and what's her name, got pregnant during a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, who's doing that? Yeah, you're a fool. And like when she was struggling whether to keep her or not, it's like that decision should not have been hard for you. I'm sorry. I don't like all your morals combined. You're talking about bringing a baby into a world that is dead. The world is dead. You know what I mean? When it's zombie apocalypse, we're talking about like a dead for the life of humans. Like everything else might be good, but like for us, the world's dead. You know what I mean? So it's like, to bring life into a dead world, it's like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? There's no place for this baby.
Yeah, and also I'm like, no one's taking showers or anything. How do you even think about having sex?
I mean, homeless people have sex. I don't think that's the issue.
Okay, they're on a different plane. They straight up don't care. We saw after church last week a guy literally on the side of the road.
Oh my god!
He pulled down his pants and he started pissing. And we were like, wow, he really doesn't care. Mm-hmm. Then he just bends over, it's like hands to ankles, and just lets it go.
On the corner of the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not talking in the cuts. Like I'm talking like where the little like yellow graded spot where the blind people come to like you kind of see and feel it. He's like standing right there on that like shitting damn near like into the road. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah, like, he's homeless. He's peeing.
It's like, you know, this happens. I know this happens, but like, we saw it. That was the first time I'm watching the whole thing. Like, because I seen him piss. I was like, oh yeah, that's bold. Because he's just sitting there with his cock out. You know what I mean? Okay. Bold motherfucker. It's cool. You know what I mean? Might not be me. You know what I mean? Like, and then like, he got some dignity, so I'm gonna get to the cuts. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna go to the cut, but I was like, okay, bold. And then the motherfucker just bends over, and I just see shit coming out of his ass. Oh, you know what I mean? And by then, I already seen it was too late for me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I luckily avoided seeing it.
Oh, I just remember when I started seeing the shit come out of his ass, I was like, Lord have mercy, I'm really seeing this right now. I saw it all. And you let me see this. You put this right here for me. You're just trying to let me know that this is out here. Don't forget now.
Oh man, yeah, I just can't believe it. That would be something during an apocalypse of like, yeah, let's have sex and potentially have a kid. It's just like, what are you thinking?
Or if you are having sex, like, you know, like, if the pregnancy type, like, we're doing everything to, like, you know what I mean? That's not happening. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to have sex, because I get it, like, dude, they're going to have sex. Like, that's for the sex, or, like, for the connection. But it's like, we all know what can happen when you have sex. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
It's like, this is, like, an even, like, more of a reason. It's like, okay, when you got teenagers that are having sex, it's like, at no point is it a good idea for you teens to have a baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no scenario under which I think, like, so, like, when you're 16, 17, you should be doing everything when you're having sex to try to make sure you don't have the baby. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Or don't get pregnant in the first place.
I can't believe, like, especially back like when I was in high school, you know, teens were raging hormones. But I'm finding out, you know, they're having sex unprotected.
I mean, everybody's doing that, but it's like, you doing that, and then you're busting all in the bitch, and then she doesn't even go and get checked afterwards, and then, like, a few weeks later, she had none out of her period, and shit. It's like, what do you think was going to happen? You know what I mean? You busted all in her. She needs to be on her way to Planned Parenthood to get a pregnancy test within a few days, you know what I mean? Maybe not the day after, because I'm not going to show. But you know what I mean? Like, you need to be like, think like, I just got busted in. Yeah, Plan B, something. You know what I mean? You need to think, like, I just got busted in. Like, this is how babies are made. Like, not like, oh, I just got busted in. Go about my day. Like, because that's what happens when you're, like, 16, 17. Like, you'll have sex and shit, and, like, you just busted the bit or some shit like that. And then because you're so inexperienced, you don't know kind of what to do, or you're nervous, or, like, you can't really, like, access certain things the way you can when you get a little older. Like, you just kind of, like, the girl go about her day, and you'll go, as a guy, like, you just pull out and go about your day anyway. Like, so, like, you just go about your day, and whoop you up, la-di-da-di-da. A few weeks later, she's telling you she missed her period, because girls know when they have their period, like, it's a regular type thing. So it's like, she's telling you she missed her period, and we all know what that means. You know what I mean? Like, so you're looking at her, she's looking at you, like, you're like, we're fucked. And she's like, yeah, you're fucked. And you're looking at her like, so what are my options? And she's looking at you like, well, then I'm about to tell you what your options are. And you're like, she's got you by the balls at that point. You should have pulled out. But it's like, after that, like, first of all, my pull-out game got a lot stronger. like post high school, like, once I started realizing that babies, like, it'll happen regardless of whether I want to or not. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like my pull-out game had to get a lot stronger. And that took practice. A motherfucker will get so, or like, she'll be on top of you, you'll just bust. Like, it's over. Like, so, like, also, a motherfucker had to learn how to access certain avenues of, like family planning. You know what I mean? Like, a motherfucker don't just go out here busting the bitch and then la-di-da-di-da go about his day like babies are impossible just because I'm 17, 18, 19, 20. You know what I mean? Like, that's literally like how I used to think, like 13, 14, 15. Like, I used to literally think, like, baby won't happen to me. No, I ain't trying to have a kid, so I ain't gonna have one. But I'm finna have sex. Like, that's not, like, not having sex is not an option. So, but also having a baby is not an option. So it's like, what do you do?
So was condoms just not a thing that you
This is the thing. This is a common, I used to say this very early on. This was a little analogy I see to use.
Okay.
Everybody likes eating candy. Everybody loves eating
You've
candy.
told me this in the past.
I know I have. You like eating candy with the wrapper on it. You know you're gonna get the candy with the wrapper. You take the wrapper off every single time. Even if you knew there was some type of, and you could just bite into the Snicker and you would still taste it, but you had to bite into it with the wrapper on for some type of reason, whatever. Most people would still choose to take that motherfucking wrapper off and eat a candy bar. You know what I mean? Even if there was some safer reason for eating it with the wrapper on. You know what I mean? Like, say eating it with the wrapper on became like the new safer standard. Like, all of a sudden there's this new thing out there. They're saying eating candy with wrapper on is
prevents choking.
Prevention is suggested by the CDC and your local Kaiser Health Organization. La da la di da. Okay. Cool story, Doc. These motherfuckers are not going to change from doing what humans have done since the dawn of time. There wasn't no lamb skins back in the day. Like, you know what I mean? Motherfuckers wasn't like, oh, I gotta go slaughter this lamb, get the fucking intestines out, make that motherfucker like the right, tie it up at the tip, put a little balloon at the tip, boop bop, slide that motherfucker on myself real quick before I go fuck these little like caveman sluts out here, because there's fucking chlamydia going around, and that motherfucker's killing motherfuckers nowadays. Back then, you know what I mean? Like, it's like they were still fucking. Motherfuckers was catching chlamydia, going blind, nose will fall off, and everything. Still fucking. Everybody knows this can happen. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't stopping them then. I don't think anything's stopping them. Mm-hmm. So it's like, when having a baby is not an option, but not having sex is not option. What do you do at that point, right? You gotta start accessing certain avenues, right? And this is where education is paramount.
Exactly. I actually agree 100% with education on that. Yeah.
Because if you don't know, that's what I was saying. Like, when I didn't know, like, these different or like just how to go about being a man, a sexually active man. You know what I mean? I just didn't know how to do that properly. Fucking, I would just go do some weird freak shit with some random girl, maybe a few times or some shit, and I'm not worried about where she came from. I'm not worried about where I came from. Depending on what age you caught me at, hygiene was always there, but like as I got older, hygiene got better. You know what I mean? Everybody was a dirty little teen at some point. You know what I mean? Like your hygiene at fucking 22, 23 is not the same that it was at 13. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's like when you're sexually active at 13 and your hygiene is not that of a grown man, even that is like not how to be a good sexually active man. You know what I mean? So it's like all that was just a result of lack of knowledge, though. You know what I mean? So it's like, when I'm just going about living my life this way, that's how motherfuckers just up and have babies. You know what I mean? And it happens often. You know what I mean? So it's like, whew, can't be me, though.
And, probably right on that, too, is, let's just be honest, part of female's nature, they're probably more sexually active during ovulation. And of course,
Bro, that's when the girls are telling you to bust in them. Like, they're literally, like, locking their legs around you, like, bust in me. Literally, I go telling you 10 minutes prior, don't bust in me. 10 minutes later, bust in me. Like, you just told me not to. But, like, I'm finna. Like, come on. Like,
me and Professor over here just shaking our head at Smokey.
This is the facts of life.
Back to being pregnant.
What was the topic again? Zombies?
How is it that we got on a sex tangent in the zombie apocalypse?
Because on Valentine's sex Day during zombies. Okay, so let's talk about it. Sex during zombie apocalypse. How you doing it? What you going about? So, like, sex during zombie apocalypse at this point, fuck AIDS. I don't give a fuck anymore. I gotta worry about being a zombie. You think I'm worried about gonorrhea, chlamydia, fucking HPV, what else? Fuck ever, bro. I'm fucking anything. I don't care how it looked, bro. I told you I got about a month left anyway.
So let me ask something, Smokey. What do they call big beautiful women?
BBW, bro. Skinny or fat, dime or rat, as long as the bitch ain't a zombie.
And like back to being pregnant in a zombie apocalypse, you'd think that the stress of trying to stay alive would cause like massive problems to the fetus.
Yeah,
you know?
like miscarriage.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like the constant running, the physical activity. And like that's
why none of that shit in Walking Dead made no sense.
Right?
They were literally running from house to house. This bitch was 8 months pregnant. Like, you should be bedridden, yo.
Like, she shouldn't have even reached 8 months. Like,
No.
the first 3 months are a hell to get through.
Yeah.
If you're living this, like, this stressful, active life.
Yeah. That's when you're gonna have miscarriage first few months. When you're hella active and stressed like that. Yeah, that's why I don't understand how anybody could, like, and then also get pregnant and look at it like this is going to be like a good thing. You know what I mean? Like you when it's a zombie apocalypse and you come up pregnant, you could only be thinking about all the stress and like stuff that's going to come from this. Like you'd be lucky if the motherfucker makes it to 18. You know what I mean? Like, oh my god.
Yeah, and let's just say the pregnancy goes good. Now you have the baby. You have a baby with maybe no one who's medically trained around.
Yeah. And the baby has no skills whatsoever to contribute to your survival.
100% dependent. It's not even partially dependent.
It is 100%
dependent. You know what I mean?
For
not
a
only that
long
is it dependent,
time.
it's a what do you call something that can cause trouble? It's it's a potential issue. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I'm forgetting what the word is, but
a risk.
A
risk. Yeah, but there's another word for it. It's like a little bit of a longer word.
Complication.
No, but I think it starts with a C. It's
contingency.
Not contingency. When something has the potential to cause problems, it has.
It's not complication.
But it starts with a C, and it's some type of, I think it starts with a C, but it's, whatever the word is. Do you know what word I'm kind of trying to talk about?
Yeah, it's like
familiar. It's like right on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah.
But I cannot think of it. I don't know if I'm tripping or you know what I mean? Sometimes I gotta ask. This is just me. But, yeah, it not only is it like dependent, but it has like it can start crying at any time. It does not.
Yeah, you could be asleep and it starts crying.
It's not conscious of the entire situation of this world. You know what I mean? So it's like not only that's how babies are in the first place. They don't know how dangerous the world is, but like now we're dealing with double danger. You know what I mean? Double unpredictability. You know what I mean? Not only that, but because like there's no medically trained like people, the baby's gonna grow up pretty much with like never being like checked on. You know what I mean? Medically. You know what I mean? Like. Its development is not going to be, like, the best. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, not only is it not going to have the best development, but it's going to have to fight not getting bit by a zombie. You know what I mean?
Like, in a zombie apocalypse, and if you break your leg...
It's over for you.
It's over for you.
You're done.
But, like, the baby can't move for 12 months.
Exactly.
And, like, after that, it still can't move.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to do? Just carry it around, like, for 3 years, 2 years?
Yeah. And what are you going to do when the baby's having a tantrum at like 2-3 years old?
Mm-hmm. The noise causes zombies to like come towards you.
Exactly. But like you know what I mean? Like that's going to be a tough pill to swallow.
Mm-hmm.
Because then it's like, because it's like that family bond, you know what I mean? Like it's going to be hard for you to put getting rid of this child or whatever ahead of like the survival of the entire group. You know what I mean? But at that point, what do? Do you exile the child? I think the probably best option at that point, because you chose to have the kid, would be to exile yourself and the child away from the group.
Because you're just causing problems for the group.
For the sake of the group. You know what I mean? And to be like, okay, I had the child, so I'm going to take myself out of the picture to go try to raise the child and give it a chance. You know what I mean? Since I decided to bring the motherfucker into a dying world. You know what I mean? It's like as soon as I know the rapture is happening, it's like my thought is not procreation at that point. You know what I mean? Like it's like about trying to save my soul. You know what I mean? So it's like procreation is not even a point. Like what's the point at that point? You know what I mean? It's like why have the kid when we know the world is over, you know what I mean? Like this world, you know what I mean? So it's like, why try to bring life into this world?
I mean,
this world is over.
In terms of biblical stance, I mean, if I had an idea of like, oh, we're in the tribulation, I think right there I'd be like, I don't think child fiend's even a factor anymore.
Not even a factor, yeah.
And some people are saying we're in it now. I mean, I'm not saying we are. I don't really think we are, but people are saying it now. Then that makes me go, oh man, maybe
more like
maybe kids ain't the way.
It's not the way, yeah. Exactly.
But back to zombies.
Because that's just more like potential people that might like have to try to be saved. You know what I mean? Because they're gonna be born with sin. So it's like if you are, then you have to like hopefully be saved. And it's like if that is like
kids are
up to air, you know what I mean? I'd rather not bring you into the world.
Well, I mean, like kids are safe anyways. But
Sure,
I wouldn't want.
But what if the kid came up under false teachings, right, and then got to a more adult age in a world?
You mean like 18 or out?
18, 18 is our adult age. You know what I mean? But like that, whatever age where they mature, but because they matured in a dying world, they were not able to attain a lifestyle of, you know what I mean, of holiness because they were so heavily influenced by the world around them. You know what I mean? And like causes them to like kind of do things that are in the act of survival, you know what I mean, but like might lead them to do things, but just think of it as like I'm just surviving, you know what I mean? So that's what it is. You know what I mean? So it's like when you're bringing that life into this world and you knew that that's what it was going to have to be up against, why would you do that? You know what I mean? Like when you knew the only way for it to survive would be to become like the most like ruthless type of like person, you know what I mean? And like to not feel, you know what I mean? Because it wasn't like it would be growing up in a world where it even knew what the past was like, you know what I mean? Like,
as it's growing up, it's being told like,
this
hey,
is
this is how it is.
Yeah.
You
and
know?
like it's not even like going to be able to say I can draw back on past memories and just be trying to survive now, you know what I mean? Type of thought. Whereas like some people would be like, okay, I could think of past better times to try to get me through my current predicament, you know what I mean, with the tribulations, you know what I mean? But it's like, if all I know is the tribulations, imagine what that would do to someone, you know what I mean? Like, if that's all they knew, is tribulations, you know? So it's like, I would not want to bring somebody into that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like that would be almost, if not selfish, because like, I feel like even when we're talking about the Walking Dead scenario, and I don't know about the other scenario you brought up, but it's like, I feel like in the Walking Dead scenario, they were having sex for selfish reasons, like for pleasure, you know what I mean? It wasn't to have a baby. So it was like, if you're going to bring the baby into this, after you got pregnant and decide to have the baby, when it's like you did that, you were having sex for a selfish reason, for your own pleasure, but then you bring the baby into like a dying world and have to have them fight against the world, you know what I mean? I feel like that's selfish. You know what I mean? So it's like, I feel like for them to have that whole concept of them having the baby and it being a righteous thing in The Walking Dead, I don't think it was. Like, I feel like they kind of like should have made it look more righteous for her to say, I can't do this, you know what I mean? And like not have had the baby. And then for everything that happened after that, you know what I mean? Like, you remember how much shit they had to go through for that little baby? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't even remember seeing it like do anything positive for the group in the entire series, you know, like besides be a moral kind of like figure, you know what I mean? Like, besides that, I don't remember it ever. Even the kid kind of grew up and eventually started contributing to the group. You know what I mean? Like, Carl, yeah. I mean, he was younger. He didn't contribute as much, but like once his mom died, that was kind of his thing. Like he kind of helped the baby get to live, and like ever since then, he kind of had more of a role in the group. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he became a man.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like he was dependent at first, and then he started to contribute to the group, be less dependent, and then he became completely undependent. You know what I mean? And actually a asset to the group. You know what I mean? But I feel like when you have a baby, those early years are going to be so long that the amount of time that it is dependent are going to outweigh any type of value that it could bring in the future to the group. And also, I feel like if it was to get to that
that age to where it can finally be of value and contribute to the group, that he would be such a broken person, having grown up in the world, that who would want to live like that? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you got someone like Mad Max.
Yeah, not even connected to the world, doesn't even have the connections that make people. You know what I mean? So it's like, not only do they have to kind of live in a dead world, but like they were never in the living world, so it's like they can't never draw on that. You know?
No, and not to sound emo or anything, but they can literally, it's like all they know is a life of pain. You know,
it's like at some point it's like, dang, you know, it's like a lifer, like somebody that's in jail for the rest of their life. You got a lot of people that when they know that that's the outcome, they'd rather die. You know what I mean? They'd rather go get the death penalty. You know what I mean? So it's like, and that's almost like an understandable reaction to those kind of circumstances. You know what I mean? Even though you put yourself in those circumstances, when you know that you're being thrown in the cell and the key is being thrown away, you know what I mean? You know you're not getting out for the rest of your life. This is it. It almost makes sense to be like, okay, rather than go through all that pain and suffering, I'd rather just like do something, like kill myself, do something crazy, end up on death row, maybe be there for 10 years, and it's over. You know what I mean? You'd be on death row for like 10, 15 years, but eventually they're going to kill you usually, if like, depending on the time. But like,
state.
Yeah, depending on the state and the time, because some states it'll be legal, then it'll be illegal for a little while, it'll be back legal. So like if you get convicted during a time when it was legal, then you could be up for death penalty. It's all this weird shit that could happen. But like, I understand why a lot of people, like, they kind of get that mindset to where it's like, I'll just like crash out and do something crazy and like end up on death row. Try to, you know. Sometimes they don't even, like, they'll do something to crash out, kill themselves, attack a guard. You know what I mean? Do some shit like that, crazy, to where like now they're getting extra charges and shit. And it's like, they might just end up getting more time slapped onto their life sentence. You know what I mean? It's like, you just got more time slapped. Okay, so it's like, now you just got moved to like a higher security facility. You know what I mean? Because you do something crazy, your points are going to go up. You're going to a higher facility, a higher level facility. Either that or you're just going to already be in max custody. That's like no contact. You got no contact with outside world. You know what I mean? Like, that's what really makes the prisoners crazy. Is like when you're in the cell by yourself. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, at that point, that's when you start considering, like, if this is the world that I have to live in, death is a more preferable option. But at the same time, you have people that don't want to kill themselves, per se. I still kind of feel like it's an act of killing yourself if you kill somebody and knowing that is going to hopefully be your ticket to get to death row. So that the state will kill you.
Well, that's why a lot of people commit SBC, suicide by cop.
Or suicide by cop. And that's another thing. Like, they might attack a guard in a way, like, with a knife or something, knowing that, like, they're attacking the guard in a way that this guard or, like, the other guards around that guard are going to have to shoot you or put you down to neutralize the risk. You know what I mean? So it's like, when you're going at a cop like that or going at a guard like that, it's like, you knew they were going to have to kill you. You knew that was protocol when... you know what I mean? Like, so it's like, is that suicide still? I almost think that is almost like suicide still. You know what I mean?
It's the intention of like of like ending your life.
Yeah.
So I would say it's suicide.
It's still suicide. Even if you weren't the one who physically did it to yourself. But you planned it out. You knew that cop was going to shoot you, or they were going to retaliate.
Put yourself in a situation where you knew the outcome for you was like harm or death. You know what I mean? Like, if that's still self-harm or suicide, in that context, I think so. Yeah, so like, well, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it's a different little thought experiment right there, but it's for another episode.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, you know, in thinking what kind of situations is death preferable in? You know, death is a preferable option to communism. That's all I have to say.
Like, what about zombie apocalypse?
See, yeah, that's another thing. I used to always think, when I used to think zombie apocalypse, a common thought of mine would be, I got a month, or like, death is a preferable option than live in this current world anymore. Even though I don't want to kill myself, that's why I'm saying I would just go out. I'm out there crazy for a month to where I know I'm going to put damn near die. You know what I mean? Like,
I resolved myself that I wouldn't be able to survive in a zombie apocalypse, I would probably choose the least painful death that I can.
But what if not only is it that you won't be able to survive, but that surviving will be incredibly hard?
Then
Like, would you give it a go?
It really depends. If I was by myself, I probably wouldn't. But if I was in a group that I know will
Depending
stick
on the
with me,
members too.
who I know that will stick with me, will try their hardest to maintain, like, to survive as a group, then I will give my best, because it's not just me that I'm responsible for, it's other people as well.
Yeah, that's when that bond is important too. But like, that's why I feel like also like the isolation is a big factor. Trying to be by yourself, you know what I mean?
Humans are social creatures in nature.
Yeah,
like we cannot function as well as we could, as well as we have.
You think you can too.
Yeah.
Some people get in the idea that they think they can survive by themselves, and I feel like the whole concept of zombie apocalypse is almost that it kind of almost challenges the human. Like the whole concept is to challenge the person in that way, that like the almost like quick kind of thought of survival is, I want to isolate myself, go by myself, live by myself now. You know what I mean? Because not only are people dangerous, but any possible person I have around me that's alive could at some point become a zombie and then be that zombie that's close enough to me to kill me. You know what I mean? So it's like, if that's the fact, then it's like that even more would make somebody want to be like, I need to just isolate. You know what I mean? But it's like, in that isolation, remember like in Walking Dead, the first episode, he meets the one dude who it's like, it's just him and his son. And then once his son dies, the black dude with the stick, remember? Yeah. Once his son dies in the first episode, he ends up meeting him whole like 2 or 3 seasons later. And this guy's now been by himself, crazy, for like 2-3 years. And then you see how that affects him. You know what I mean? And like, he kind of eventually is able to bring himself out of it. But it's only once he comes back into the group and has some type of, where he's able to start contacting with, I think it's not Maggie, but the older lady. She's like my favorite character. Carol. Yeah, I was to say Carol. Yeah, like it's like through that interaction that he is able to kind of like bring himself back to being like not only like human, because there's a point where he knows he's a person, you know, he's saying, but he's like so struggling with the world that he's in that he cannot even like come to terms with himself. You know what I mean? So it's like, it takes that connection with like somebody else under similar circumstances for him to be able to bring himself out of that. You know what I mean? So it's like, at that point, do you think, I don't think that he would have ever been able to bring himself out of that had he stayed isolated. You know what I mean? And would that, if that would have been the case for him, would staying alive be his best, you know, outcome? Or would it be better for him to just off himself? You know what I mean? Like he was struggling with the entire time. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. At that point, I'm like, shoot, because I never thought somebody that like ever thought that suicide would be in the cards for me. You know what I mean? And like, no matter what the situation I might find myself coming up against. But if I came up against a zombie apocalypse, you know what I mean? Like, dang. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not thinking suicide, but I'm thinking like suicidal type, like lifestyle.
Yeah.
Thought, you know what I mean? Like, and I feel like that's the craziest part.
Yeah, I mean, I'm through for a fighter. I mean, my thing, even if the objective every day is just survive, I would just do it. Whether I'm alone.
What if it gets to a point though that like it's not only about survival, but it's like if at this point it's more better for you to just say, because if your ultimate goal is survival to the point to where you die in a way that you feel like you died in a dignified way that will get you to heaven, do you think at some point it's like that survival is going to lead you to a lifestyle that's not going to get you to that dignified death? You know what I mean? So at that point, is it more so better to say, I might not just give up, but I'm going to get right with God? And in so getting right with God, I'm not really trying to set up a lifestyle of survival. You know what I mean? I'm not out here trying to like go isolate myself in the Winnebago up in the wood. You know what I mean? Versus like, I'm out here just trying to like get as many people to believe that they can be saved and make it up to heaven as possible in the tribulation, in the turmoil, knowing that doing that eventually is going to lead to my death. But when I die, I will die dignified and in a way that I feel like was not in like a suicidal way, but like, you know what I mean? Like you weren't you like you said, a fighter, but you weren't living, like you were fighting, but not really fighting to survive. You know what I mean? To survive here on this now dead apocalyptic world. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it depends on the situation. If if I was alone and, you know, everyone around me is a zombie, you guys are gone, you know, family's gone, I can't, there's not even a living soul in sight, you know, obviously I'd be like, alright, like, it's just me, you know, and it depends on where I am. Am I in town? Have I moved in the wilderness already? What's my resources looking like? You know, if I have a chance to get, even if I'm here in town, but if I have a chance with, like, resources to get to a wilderness area, I'm not, you know, just somewhere where I can be alone, I can hunt my food, if that's acceptable to hunt, you know, if I can get out and have a chance to do that, I would, you know, I'd be like, okay, that's the move I can take, I'm gonna take it. If I die, I get cornered by, you know, if I die, whether I get sick, I get injured, maybe a zombie bites me, you know, or a horde surrounds me, you know, then that's how it goes. But, you know, suicide wouldn't be an option at all for me.
But I'm not talking suicide in the thought of, like, killing yourself, but I'm talking, like...
No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Like, you know...
So that's never an option.
Yeah, that's never an option.
Like, it's never an option to say, I'm just going to try to, like, focus on getting to the next world.
Yeah.
So we talked.
But I would make sure I'm right with God. I mean, I'm doing that now.
But what if the survival, you know, is going to lead you to have to do actions that,
like, maybe rob that family for their food.
Rob that family for that food. Kill that child because he's screaming and he's bringing the zombies. You know what I mean? Like, that's like an ultimate sin. I feel like very hard to come back from. I wouldn't. I'm not gonna say you can't.
I wouldn't commit it. That'd just be the way it goes.
Okay, so like, if that's how you're thinking, then that's an action that I think is not really like down to the true survivalist. You know what I mean? Because like in the animal world, even a mom will even kill her own child to eat and survive. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
So it's like, are you really trying to survive in this world if that's what you're willing, if you're not willing to do that, if you're not willing to compromise your morals and that's what I'm pretty much saying. If you're so willing to fight to be in this world that is now apocalyptic and dying, that you're willing to give up your morals to survive here, that will eventually get you to the next world that we know is better and not dying like this one. You know what I mean? It's like, am I going to now live in a way that, because I know that that's eventually going to lead to my death very quickly, because like if you're going to be living in this apocalyptic world, you got to like set shit up like as soon as you know it's apocalyptic. You know what I mean? Like you don't got like some time to kind of like just kind of like la-di-da-da, see what's going on and kind of maybe figure out what I want to do. You know? Yeah. Once I got more information, you know what I mean? It's like, no, you got to start like acting in a way that's like going to lead to either this or that. You know what I mean? So it's like, at that point, you say, okay, I know that this world is kind of over. Everybody around me is going to either like die or become a zombie. Is it worth even trying to survive and then be in this world with all that baggage and everything, and then also have to survive and keep my morals intact? And you know what I mean? You know, or is it just better off to say, I'm just going to go do whatever I think is going to then lead me to die that dignified death. You know what I mean? And when I say dignified death, I mean like that death that's going to get you to the next world. Some people might not believe that there's a heaven, so they might say that dignified death might just be me living out whatever type of way I feel like makes me most happy until I eventually die. You know what I mean? It's like, is that better, or is it like, no, I need to like buckle down, doomsday prepper, doing everything I need to do, stockpiling, you know what I mean, everything I need to do for long-term survival. You know what I mean? But like, to do that, you're going to eventually run into situations where you're going to have to compromise morals for survival. That's like that's survival 101. You know what I mean? It's like, you might want to survive, but you got to do things that you don't want to do. You know what I mean? And like, the whole idea of like putting like the next world above this world is the idea that even though there's things that in this world might be more make sense for like the survival, or might make sense to do this because it will lead you to be more wealthy, which means you could provide better and be a better provider or whatever, but it's like that's not what's morally right. That's what you're supposed to like not do, you know what I mean? That's the choice that we all come up against and are supposed to make. So it's like at that point, what do? You know what I mean? Because I feel like a zombie apocalypse is going to very quickly push you to a place where it's like you got to make that decision. You know what I mean? It's going to be very quick in a way that's like going to be out of your control, and it's going to like lead you to like, you know what I mean? Unless you're kind of in your head already thinking like I'm going to go into this like situation and this is what I'm going to do, you're going to either react rash or like, you know what I mean? Like some, you know, that's where it's crazy shit starts happening. So
I think if I was ever in that situation where I had to choose whether to follow my morals or for the sake of survival, abandon them, I would rather stick to my morals, because in a zombie apocalypse, we're surviving
for what, though?
In order to see us as human beings, as morally upright people, to live another day.
Yeah.
If we abandon our morals, we would just become another monster that we would have to survive against. Yeah. So, to me, I wouldn't abandon my morals, because I do not want to be that guy who would kill a child because they were crying and drawing out zombies.
Yeah, that's true. Because then it's like, now you're not only like that person that you are like having to fight against, but it's like almost like you're fighting against yourself. You know what I mean? Because like you're almost a detriment to yourself. Because you're,
but like, I would accept that, because our actions have consequences. If we didn't kill that child and that child drew in zombies, we would have to deal with the effect of our actions, of what caused
somebody might die.
Somebody might die, but at least I chose not to kill an innocent life. So
do you think that though it's necessarily like more like I said, is it not so much suicidal, but like to do these type of things? Do you think is kind of like in a way that's kind of suicidal? You know what I mean? To like to operate in a way that you know this is not like what's the best for survival. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
see what I'm trying to get
I
at?
think that's a hard question, because you're saying that by not choosing the survival, it's kind of dooming yourself to death.
Yeah.
But if you chose that action, if you chose to keep your morals, then it's not like you're choosing to die. It's you're choosing to deal with the consequences of your actions.
I see that. So like whatever
happens.
It comes. Then I deal with that.
But whatever comes, what may be like in the future, I will have to deal with that. Yeah. And I'm not running away from from the consequences, from my responsibilities, but face them. And if I die, then I'll die. Yeah. So we talked about these. I
feel like survival can very easily lead to like people running.
Yeah. Survival is, I wouldn't say a coward's way out. It's the pragmatic way out, but you're kind of shifting. How would I say it? Like
your view.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
You're focusing on
because like once you lose your morals, I don't think there's a way to get them back.
Very hard.
Yeah, like in the past, you chose to abandon them, and if like even in the future you follow them, there's still that time where you abandon them. You still have to live with that. Yeah. So we talked about like the moral problems of like apocalypses and like of like childbirth and moral dilemmas. But right now, if you see a zombie just outside that door, what would the first thing you do? What would be the first thing you do? Yep.
I mean, because we're here in a group, I would think like, hey, let's mob up. You know what I mean? Like, if I was by myself, I'm running outside to get help. Fire. You know what I mean?
I can fill it with stuff that we might need.
And dip
I know you, Nightstalker, you have weapons,
weapons, some supplies, a truck.
I have a car. I have a car. I brought like a little 5-seater car. So we can like fill it with stuff in the trunk. So like, yeah, after we kill the zombie outside, obviously, and consolidate our
What's
resources.
the next move?
What's our next move?
Yeah, that's my thing. It's like,
Do we go immediately out in the wilderness, or do we risk going to like
save people?
Save people, or like do we risk going to
that's
like
more
malls,
get more resources?
More
resources is getting resources morally better than saying I want to go save people. If I get in a situation where I'm driving past a mother about to get killed, is it morally better for me to then pull over or be like, no, I have a destination, so that's where I need to go because that's what's going to lead to my survival. You know what I mean? I can't try to save the world. You know what I mean? But it's like, at what point do you? Is there ever a time to take up that response? You know what I mean? Like the extra.
So yeah, what would the plan of action be?
If right now that was it, I mean, like, I know we'd have to consultate and be like, what do we do? But like,
and we don't know anything.
Yeah,
we just see zombie.
Yeah, we see a zombie, we neutralize it, and then it's like, all right, what do we do? Definitely, I'd say we have to get out of this. Get out of the house. You know, obviously, it can get overran.
Yeah, I don't want to get somewhere where it's like, you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to think of an area, like almost like an Auburn. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
Auburn, Grass Valley.
Grass Valley.
Those would be good. Kind of
still kind of populated where there's resources and the semblance of people, so I can kind of like go loot houses.
Actually, that'd be good. You go up to my coach's area because we can go up there, get a better grasp on the situation, and move from there.
Like my ultimate thing, if I'm trying to survive, is to go out to where it's like wide open plains. First of all, I want to be somewhere where it's like wild, like the Midwest.
You want to maximize your route of escape, like,
and my escape route, and my field of view, so where I can see things coming and nothing's gonna sneak up on me. I also want to get somewhere where there's going to be like houses every so few miles that I can hit for shelter, resources. You know what I mean? Like that would be my thing. I would just be boop, house, stay there for the night. Boop, next spot, stay there for the night. Boop, clear this house, stay there for the night. You know what I mean? And whatever I run into on that way, the only surprises will be hopefully when I'm entering a house. You know what I mean? That'll be the only time where I feel like this is the time where it's like the unexpected could happen.
Yeah.
Or like when the day to day, I know that I'm wide open. I can see everything. I'm not in a city where like huge buildings obscure what's right around the corner, and I come around the corner to afford. You know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, imagine being downtown. You know,
that's exactly
how chaotic that
would be. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like you're gonna come around the corner and some shit's gonna be in your face. That's why I'm saying like I want to get, but I don't want to be to where I'm out in the complete wilderness. You know what I mean, where there's no semblance of people or people having been lived, because it's gonna be hard to move in those areas because people have not cleared roads and shit, and it's also gonna be a lack of leftover resources to try to get together. You know what I mean? But that's why I feel like to get to the Midwest, and that area would be prime, because like people are also so spread out that like hopefully there wouldn't be any huge pockets of zombies. You know what I mean? Like you might have towns of a few hundred, few thousand
that might band together.
Either band together or they're gonna eventually like immediately clear out. You know what I mean? Like of the populated city center, and the city center is only gonna be like a strip of town, you know what I mean? So it's like, but that like whole strip of town is somewhere you could go loot very easily, you know what I mean? One way in, one way out, versus trying to go loot like a small, medium-sized city, you know what I mean? Like that, I would avoid cities, anything bigger than like a little Midwestern town, you know what I mean? Quite literally, like I wouldn't even be in like a Yuba or Marysville. Or at some point, like after the first like month, 2-3 months, like even like an Auburn, you know what I mean? Like I'm gonna try to go into those huge, high populated areas, hopefully early on when there's less zombies, hopefully, so I can try to loot early. More resources still there that haven't been looted yet, and hopefully less zombies there. People haven't been bit yet. You know what I mean? Depending on the situation.
I agree with Smokey in like thinking that I would want to find a place that has houses spread out every so and so miles.
Yeah.
Because according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, going medical here, the first tier of needs that a human needs is food, water, and shelter.
Yeah.
If we have those houses, that's already completing a third of what like we need. That's more effort towards finding food and water.
Yeah.
And if we're not focused on like, you know, building a shelter in the wilderness, then that's better for us.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like it's advantageous in the zombie apocalypse to take advantage of leftover human resources. But like city centers are not going to be where, even though that's going to be where the most resources are going to be left over, because there's going to be a lot of people there that just died quickly and left whatever they had. So there's going to be a lot of shit there that you're going to want to go get. But it's like going into those areas very unpredictable, very hard to get in, get out. You know what I mean? Like, because of how when everybody probably started leaving the exits and they're going to be so clogged. Like, you ever seen in the like Walking Dead where the whole freeway is clogged with cars, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so even getting into the city is going to be a challenge.
You'd want to leave the big cities really fast because we want to avoid those traffic jams.
Yeah.
New York, if we lived in New York, I would be like, guys, we're probably not making it out.
Not even just New York, but just like
LA.
Kind of, even
just
outside of these areas,
yeah.
You know what I mean, are going to get so clogged because of how densely populated suburbs. Like, suburbs are real densely populated, even though you don't see the people because they're never outside their homes. Mm-hmm. Once they start all, like, you even, like, you're not in Natomas right now, but you're in Natomas. Mm-hmm. You see how crowded Natomas looks in the morning. Yeah. In the morning, when everybody's moving around for work, they're starting to move around. It looks like it's crowded in Natomas. Mm-hmm. You get around 2 o'clock on a work day, or like noon, 2 o'clock on a work day, you don't see anybody out even driving around on the roads. You know what I mean? So it's like, but they're there, and when some shit pop off, they're going to be there trying to move. You know what I mean? So it's like, even in these smaller areas, there's going to be a good amount of people that are going to be trying to move around and shit. They're going to fuck shit up for you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's like, I damn near want to like kind of loot here quick, fast, and get out and kind of like maybe buckle down for a little bit and then get to the Midwest.
So where would you loot first?
Where would I loot first? Ooh, across the street from my house. You feel me? And then I would hunker in there and use their little fence area for a little like few days. You feel me? And try to feel out, see what's going on in the area, and then kind of try to plan my exit from the city. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Whether I'm gonna like loot a little more and try to hunker up a little more resources, get some transportation, and shoot on out. You know what I mean? Or I'm gonna like bunkering down within the city is not going to ever be an option. You know what I mean? Like on some like I Am Legend shit. You know what I mean? Because I'm not going to every day want to have to focus on trying to get away from the zombies daily.
You don't want to fall into the trap of staying in a really tall building. That's like one of the worst things you could do.
Oh yeah,
because the zombies can go up, but it'll take you a long time to
try
get
to get down through them. Yeah.
Unless you have some special way to get down.
Yeah, and I also think it was kind of like I said, like an I Am Legend, where like he's living in the city. He doesn't really have to deal with the zombies and shit, but like he knows every day he has to try to get inside and like bunker down. I wouldn't want to do that. You know what I mean? Like, he was staying there obviously because the surplus of resources in the city for one man. You know what I mean? You kind of saw how he was kind of like one man in a city. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, whoa, so much shit to. But it's like every day he had to deal with the fact that not only can I go into one of these buildings during the daytime and boom, zombies right around the corner, but it's like at the nighttime, I know every night I gotta get back home, lock everything up, and the zombies are gonna be running rampant during the night. You know what I mean? Even because they were like vampires. But like, I wouldn't want to deal with that like on the daily, because I feel like if you're in the Midwest, because you have that long plain view, you know what I mean? If I'm approaching a city, I'm gonna kind of know what's going on kind of around this, you know what I mean? Versus like if I'm in like a large New York area city where it's like, I would never even go close to that motherfucking thing, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't go close to, like, down Sacramento. Like, even within looting, like, if I was saying I'm looting from Natomas, luckily I live in Natomas, where it's already kind of on the outskirts. I could kind of just hit the levee and, like, be up out of there. You know what I mean? Like, I would kind of loot around there and then get dipped. You know what I mean? Like, I would try to loot, like, towards, like Amazon warehouses. You know, warehouses. I'm going to warehouses first. Smack that first.
Like big open rooms
big
so you can
open
see.
Warehouses where not only that, but these are places where there's plenty of resources and people are not there even when shit was normal. So they weren't there for to turn and then be there for me to now have to like come into the warehouse and fight 100 people. But if I'm going to the mall and the mall was 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people, and then the outbreak happened, and now I have to battle against 1,000 zombies in the mall just to get the resources and pick out the resources I want from the mall. fuck that, I'm to the warehouse.
My coach, well, a lot of people in my martial arts group, we're not doomsday preppers, but we do prepare if there's ever a national emergency.
You like to run thought experiments?
Thought experience?
Thought experiments.
Oh, well, let's say one of the levee breaks, or, some type of national disaster, what do you do in those situations? Because even a national disaster, people might go crazy, even if, people might be fighting for water and stuff.
Yeah.
So, they say it takes 3 days for, whether it's the National Guard or whoever to respond. So I know right away if something was to happen zombie-wise, we're probably stuck here 3 days.
That's why if you're trying to rely on the National Guard.
Well, no, I'm not relying on them. I just know this is why 3 days you need to hunker down, because you wouldn't just be waiting on help. It's the fact that you can't get out. Okay. Because think of everyone trying to get to the freeways and all that stuff.
Saying. That's the biggest one.
So even if a zombie apocalypse happened, if everyone tried getting out, we got 3 days until people are not on the freeway in the sense of,
the initial rush.
Yeah, the initial rush.
That's why I said, I'm trying to bunker down and then plan my exit from the city. I'm not trying to just exit and go out.
Yeah, no, my goal is to have 2 weeks worth of material where I could hunker down. This is for national emergency, not really zombies. But, my goal that I'm trying to build towards right now is to have 2 weeks worth of water for me, 2 weeks worth of, food I can eat that doesn't require...
Non-perishable goods.
Yeah, non-perishable goods. That's how you would want to go, and then after those 2 weeks, it's like, okay, either A, help's going to be here, B, I gotta leave,
You have 2 weeks to plan.
Yeah, you have 2 weeks to plan. So... but in terms of zombies, I might have to go on the go, but maybe not leave town. But I might not stay here in this house.
Yeah, I feel like that you wouldn't want to initially just rashly rush to I'm gonna leave town. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
'Cause I feel like you get caught up in that initial.
No, you get caught up in the rush.
Flash of people.
Yeah. No, first thing I'd honestly do, being where you live, I'd probably just load up the truck with my goods, take the back roads towards you, and be like, let's hunker down.
We're gonna hunker down in the fucking house across the street.
Yeah.
Close that gate.
Take over this mansion. I'm gonna put some car batteries on the gates. Yep. So anything tries to touch it gets electrocuted.
Yep.
And
not only that, it's cutty too. So it's I don't think. Other than people that I know and fuck with, would think to I'm gonna come here if something pops off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're just gonna get caught in the
No, a lot of
town,
people, especially those who are really not prepared, they're gonna try to get out of town. Mm-hmm. It's fight or flight, and a lot of them are gonna just flight.
Fight or flight, yeah. And I feel like that's the most dangerous thing too. When you're in those survival situations, and you're how the Marines, when they're in survival situations, they want to prep to where it's this is not an unfamiliar situation for me. You know what I mean? To where I act rash, So it's I want to limit the amount of time that I'm in that zone or that mind frame of a situation where I'm going to have to act rash. You know what I mean? I want to get to a point where I'm either not hunkered down, but living in a way to where I kind of know what tomorrow's going to bring. You know what I mean? I know, this is my plan, not only for tomorrow, but, I got seasonal plans. You know what I mean? I got to get enough food for winter. You know what I mean? I got, when spring comes around and, it's not as cold, it's better time to start moving around, and traveling, you know what I mean? Because, when winter comes, I want to hunker down kind of a little more, you know what I mean? I might not be I'm definitely not going to be sedentary, you know what I mean? I'm not going to be the type to, try to get a base, you got the idea, I'm going to go somewhere, get a base, and this is going to be my home fort or base.
This is the hub.
Yeah, I'm going to be more kind of, nomadic, you know what I mean? I would kind of want to, like I said, bounce around house to house and be moving around. Yeah. But at the same time, winter comes around, I'm going to want to hunker down, you know what I mean? So it's I got to be thinking about that at all times, because you can't just let winter slip up on you, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It's over for you. That'll kill you, you know what I mean? So it's
ask the French and the Germans when they invaded Russia.
Exactly. Winter will get you. Winter is no joke, but it's how, and then all that, you got to think about all this prepping you got to do, right? Are you going to be with a group? Are you going to have to try to convince them that this is the way? You know what I mean? Because they might not think this is the way.
No, that would be a big fear of mine. I'm not saying that I'm so superior in a situation like that, but it'd be one thing if I got my mind together, like, all right, guys, this is what we should do, and people are still panicking. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of like, how do I snap it into you guys, or do I just tip? Like,
I've been in that situation. I don't know if I ever told you when I got lost in the woods, but like, I've been in that situation where like we were lost, really lost, and like in the wilderness and shit, and it's getting dark, and like one of my homies is like starting to panic and shit, and like, but like I'm trying to like maintain some semblance of like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna start panicking and like we're not gonna make a bad trip. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna start even saying those things. You know what I mean? Because like I don't even want to foster that type of thought. You know what I mean? But it's like I do have to deal with a homeboy now starting to think this way, and I know I'm already thinking this way, but I'm not trying to say it. You know what I mean? So it's like fuck. You know what I mean? Like shut the fuck up, bro. Like at that point it's like, but I want, because he's the homie and we have this connection, I want him to make it. You know what I mean? It's like
I'm gonna sacrifice him to the bears.
Yeah, exactly. So like, and that was the other fucked part. We seen bears on the way up to this place. You know what I mean? And like, we're seeing bear signs while we're out here. You know what I mean? So we don't want to be out here when it's dark. You know what I mean? Like, and there's a different type of dark when you're out there, like in the Sierra Nevada. It's like, this is not where there's even cities close to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we were up in the Cutteries. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, there wasn't gonna be no like. We found the road eventually, though, so it was Gucci. But like, I just remember we found the road, like, and we all see the road, bro. We start running towards it. Like that feeling of like, oh my gosh,
civilization.
That feeling of like we're now where people, you know, and we're okay. You know what I mean? Like civilization. Not only just people, but like somebody might be driving by, but like if we're in the cuts, like out in the real world, in the woods, you know what I mean? Like nobody's even gonna see us. You know what I mean? Or see any sign of us.
I'm actually fully confident of us three. Maybe we took a hike, took a wrong turn, got lost in the wilderness. I feel like we'd be all smart enough not to panic and we'd find our way back.
We'd make it for a day, a night or two.
Yeah. If we had to.
A night or two. Depending on the group of people I was with, I feel like I could make it a night or two.
Yeah.
But it would fully highly depend on the people I'm with, whether I make it those nights or two in the wilderness.
I had a conversation this one time with a buddy, and I thought it was funny because he was like, yeah, if I ever got lost in the woods, last people I want to be with is women. And I'm like, why? He's just like, because they're not good. He was just saying bad things like, oh, they're just going to panic. They're not going to be blah, 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 blah. I'm like, damn, dude.
No faith.
Yeah, like, no faith.
You ain't been around no strong women. Where they at in your life? Come on, dude. Yeah, it just depends on the woman. Just like how you could be around a weak dude that could bring you down just easily. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of a more sexist kind of view. Because I've been around fucking some girls who probably make it longer than I would in the wilderness. You know what I mean? Just because they know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah. I'm sure there's girls who would be better.
I'm sure there's thousands out there
that
could outdo me in any type of, you know what I mean, scenario.
There's always someone better.
You know, that's why I always say, like, when people say, like, when people are like, oh, you're smart, I'm not smart. I'm relatively intelligent. You know what I mean? Like, I'm intelligent relative to the situation. You know what I mean? Like, you want to talk some cars or some shit, I got the knowledge of a fucking, you know what I mean? Like, a 10th grader. You know what I mean?
Go hit Nightstalker.
Go hit up Nightstalker. I got the knowledge of a motherfucker getting his fucking learning degree.
I have the knowledge of less than a 10th grader when it comes to cars. Like, what's an engine?
Exactly. You know what I mean? So
V8 is a juice, right?
So that means 8 V's? You know? So it's like, in that situation, I'm not intelligent. You know what I mean? So it's like, to say anybody is like smart or anybody is like a for sure something, you're not a for sure anything. You're just like comfortable in that situation that you're in. You know what I mean? That you tend to find yourself in repeatedly. You know what I mean? But like, you put yourself in a new environment, a new situation, you like Bambi, bro. You're feeling like a little baby, bro. You're not gonna know what to do. That's why I feel like these kind of survival kind of thought experiments really kind of challenge people's morals and stuff, because like a lot of people, when they think morally, those moral thoughts kind of come under the constant assumption of a reliable like situation. You know what I mean? Like, when a lot of people tend to talk on their morals, or like, this is what I would do, you're talking about what you would do under circumstances that you find yourself familiar in. But like a zombie apocalypse, you find yourself in 100% unfamiliar situations. That's like the whole gist of it. You know what I mean? Like, yesterday shit was all good about a week ago, and now it ain't. You know what I mean? So it's like, what you gonna do now? I feel like that's like
the moral of the story.
Yeah, the most the deepest part of the subject when it comes to, like, you know, what would I during zombie apocalypse? You know, it's like, what would you when it comes to your moral standings, you know, and how you measure that up against your survival.
I guess that's what it all boils down to, just to kind of bring it to a close. It's just kind of like, when does surviving become more important than who we are in terms of our morals? You know, because you can survive for a very long time, but if you had to let people die or kill people or maybe even eat people, like the Donner Party, you know, is it really worth surviving now?
Because it's like, those people had to live with that, and then you would read recollections that the Donner Party people, like, after the fact, would literally, they were like having they were having like survival PTSD, survival skills, you know what I mean? Like, and some of them were like not just like offing themselves, but losing themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, this
probably
was
going a little crazy.
You know what I mean? When they would come, because they would routinely, they would have people come back to check up on these people. You know what I mean? To see how this affected them.
Yeah, and you know what? Let's just say there is a zombie apocalypse, and maybe after 3 months, you know, the governments are able to wipe them out. You know, so the people who survived in those 3 months, it's like, okay, guys, everything's good. We're gonna rebuild. Think of the PTSD from hiding every night from zombies.
You wouldn't know going into that you have to survive for 3 months.
Yeah.
You know
I mean, imagine trying to go back to sleeping in a bed regularly, not having to check for zombies, and you're going to sleep and you hear a noise.
Not having, like, the comfort of someone next to you, like a buddy or like your trusted group next to you.
Yeah.
Just like
or
alone
having
in
to
your
live
bedroom.
with the shit you did. Like, remember that one movie, The Mist, where he offs his whole family,
And then they find him right now. That's one of the saddest.
You know what I mean? That's literally the situation that I was trying to pose. Like, this whole, it's like, in that situation,
I was on that wavelength. That's what you were on.
You know what I mean? In like the survival of the people around him, it was like a moral, like, kind of dilemma thing, but and also a survival dilemma they were up against. Because, like, they were at a point where they, in their mind, they didn't think there was any more surviving to do.
Yeah,
they
just
fought.
thought
They
did
did all the fighting they thought they could do up to
Mhm.
that point. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, so it's like now one person had to kind of like take it upon himself to sacrifice his morals and his soul and himself so that the rest of the people could die a dignified death. You know what I mean? And it turned out to be for nothing. Well, I mean, not per se for nothing, because when those people died, they never got to see that
They didn't know what came next.
They didn't know what came next, so they died a dignified death, and that was probably good for them. But the stress that in turn it put on the main character was like the moral of the end of the movie was like, damn, bro, like and all of that was just for survival, to survive. You know what I mean? And you kind of also saw in the Mist movie how, like, the one girl, when they were in the supermarket and they kind of had they had some level still of like shelter and protection and like normalcy, you know, and they were trying, but because of the crazy world outside and how it was affecting them, it started to bring out crazy shit in people. And you saw how the girl tried to kind of like, she came in religious and she had this, and it was like, it never really came off across to me as like she was like some kind of evil religious person. But like when the world got so dark around her, and the way she responded with her religion, it kind of went dark, but it was like because of how dark the world was around him. It's like, dang, if you had to live in a world where this is the type of shit you had to live amongst and survive amongst, it's like, that's why it almost seems like that dignified death that the people were able to have when they killed them was better off for them. You know what I mean? More so than trying to like survive and live and have to deal with all the other shit that they were dealing with going into that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how I would handle it if I was like, let's say I'm surviving on my own, or even with a group, you know, society, you know, zombies are eradicated. It's like, okay, we can rebuild now, you know, this and that. And then, you know, first night I'm laying back in a bed, don't have to check for zombies, maybe I don't have my group, whether it's you guys with me, or just, you know, maybe I was with a group at first, maybe you guys died off, now I survive, it's back to the real world, and, it's like, just because the PTSD, someone can have from that.
Yeah. That's what survivors go through.
Yeah.
That's what happens to a lot of people, like, when they're in prison. They'll be in prison for a long time, and they'll, like, develop these strong-ass bonds with people because, like, they're in these, like, harsh conditions.
Mm-hmm.
They're, like, in these, like, because of the harsh conditions, they're in these, like, gang wars against other groups that, like, come together to try to all survive in these harsh conditions. But, like, and you, like, form these, like, bonds amongst, like, these other people because you're, like, almost in, like, a war. You're warriors, so you're trying to survive together.
Yeah, it's us.
But then somebody has to go home, you know what I mean? And, like, that, like, once you go home, very unlikely that you're going to come back and see this person, you know what I mean? And because you're a felon, you can't just go into the jail and visit and just, like, just do a little visit. Like, that's not a thing.
Oh, that's why a lot of them end up going back. They just commit a crime just to get back in.
Well, yeah, because you end up living and developing a whole life in there that now becomes normal to you. So now living on the outside world is no longer normal. You can't, it's hard to do now for you. You've got all these connections with people, like, that are, like, still in prison and stuff. And then when you come out, it makes it hard to form new connections with people because you've now seen how easy it is for you to, like, form these strong connections with people, and for that, under circumstances that were, like, out of both of your guys' control, to be, like, for you to no longer enjoy that. You know what I mean? It's almost like, would you rather not have to live with the pain of knowing that I can no longer enjoy this versus, like, you know what I mean, like, trying to, you know what I mean, and having to deal with it, like, slipping away, you know what I mean? So it's like you said, like, that first night, it's like, okay, well, it's not the zombie apocalypse anymore, but, like, how long does it take for me to start living like it's not the zombie apocalypse anymore? You know what I mean? And, like, am I ever able, under some circumstances like that, able to come back? Because it's like, when people are just, like, when you're in jail for that long, are you ever able to really come back? You know what I mean? And it's like, almost having gone through that, and the system having put you through that, the system was almost fucked for putting you through that, knowing that this was kind of what can happen. You know what I mean? More likely is that, like, even though, like, the zombie apocalypse is totally out of everybody's control, but, like, it's like, fuck, if you made it through the zombie apocalypse, you know what I mean? And it's like, what is the next step? You know what I mean? Like, for the whole world, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what does the world do?
That reminds me of the Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
What was that one quote? Like, you better start living, or
living, or you can get to dying, or something.
Yeah, like, Morgan Freeman's character, like, got out of jail after, like, so long, but, like, he just didn't know what to make of himself after that, right?
No, it was the other guy.
The other guy. The one
he ended up hanging himself.
The librarian.
Yeah.
And then they wrote, like, his name in the rafters. Because
he'd
be, like, always watching them.
Yeah, because he had been in jail his entire life.
Yeah.
So it was like, when you live your entire life under these harsh-ass circumstances, and then, like, it leads you to, like, you know what I mean, these people in prison, they do, like, crazy shit, and then they have to come out and then live in this, like, morally, like, regular world. But they already know that they've, like, under harsh conditions, had to, like, either, usually for survival, like, morally, did some crazy shit. How long is it going, bro?
It's like an hour 40.
But yeah, we need to wrap it up.
Yeah. I was gonna say,
I'm like, we keep getting on, like, good little topics and, like, going, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess the last thing I was just going to close it with was, I think one of the worst scenes, because obviously it'd be bad whether you were on your own or you had a group and outlived them, but I kind of feel like the worst would be if you had a lover outlive them, because, yeah, it would suck if I was, like, with a group, whether you guys made it or not, but now I'm going to sleep alone at night. There's, that the old camaraderie's not there because I'm used to having a group.
Partnership.
But if I had a love, and now they're gone, and the world's back to normal, so it's like I can technically rest easy in bed, but one, I just got out of a zombie apocalypse, but two, I don't have that person next to me anymore. That would be like, oh man, just, I always just think of soldiers, and I can't imagine what they go through when they come out of war and they got PTSD.
Yeah. I feel like that's why you often find, like say you have a widow, that's when the wife dies or the husband dies, right?
No, that's when one of the
widower.
The
widow is the girl. Say you have a widow that survives the death of a husband. I feel like when it's like just the regular death of the husband, you have a regular widow, they kind of move on a little faster. But when you have a widow and this husband died, like, in battle or in war, I feel like you tend to find but because of the circumstances, that widow kind of like hangs on to that kind of and like never kind of moves on because of the circumstances. You know what I mean? Like, and like I feel like it would kind of be similar because of the struggle that you would go through with your partner in the zombie. It would be hard for you to then form a new companionship under these new, well, not even new, but back to normal circumstances, knowing that what I just went through. You know what I mean? So it's like when you have these widows that had to go through, you know, having my love go overseas to serve and then not come back, that kind of leads them to never really try to like look for so quickly to move on and look, you know what I mean? To try to like form new bonds. It's hard for them to form new bonds, you know what I mean? When it's like now they have to look at the next partner and feel like, okay, how would you react under similar circumstances? You know what I mean? Like, and then now doubt whether that relationship is strong enough to survive a real tribulations. You know what I mean? Whereas like you thought you were going to survive with this partner of yours, they didn't make it. You know what I mean? You made it. You got survivor's guilt now. Yeah, I keep going on tangents. We gotta wrap this up.
we
Smokey's done smoking.
I mean, I get. We'll just close it with this. Anyone who says that they wish the zombie apocalypse would happen,
you're tripping.
Believe me, you don't.
Yeah,
you
that's
don't.
That's a good one.
There's so much more to it than just I get to kill zombies. Yeah. No,
that's a good
and it's more than just I need to find food. There's so much more to it. Anyone who wishes that they were in one, you need to grow up a little bit.
This isn't Minecraft, people.
This isn't mine for real.
You can't just walk around, swing a sword, and expect to kill everything in front of you.
This isn't a fantasy land. This is real life. We're playing for points.
We're playing for keeps.
Well, you know, anyone want to share with us that what they would maybe do in a zombie apocalypse? Hit us up on our email, Nightstalker Podcast at Gmail, or Instagram, or Twitter, or if you got any stories of just anything, you know, hit us up.
If you want to explain your plan on what you would do in a zombie apocalypse, email us.
Yeah, email us. We'll read it out loud if it's hilarious, or if it's really good. Yeah, I guess that'll wrap it up for today, boys.
Mm-hmm.
This has been the Nightstalker Podcast. Good night and good luck.
The zombie apocalypse will return at a later date.